Today we're going to talk about unit rates. Before we can get started with unit rates, we actually have to talk about the word rate. A rate is exactly like a ratio. It compares two things, except the two things that it compares are not very similar. Things like miles and hours or cost and weight, whereas ratios compare things that are sort of similar, like different kinds of shapes or boys versus girls. So rates are things that we're going to see more commonly in the real world. A unit rate is specific because it is always a rate that has 1 as its bottom number. So if we're dealing with miles and hours, the bottom number would be 1. So something like 65 miles per hour is a typical unit rate we see. The fraction bar in a unit rate actually says per. 65 miles per 1 hour, so for every 1 hour. That's an easy way to determine that we're doing a unit rate. So let's look at a unit rate problem. Dan rides his bike 41 miles in 3 hours. How many miles per hour did he bike? Well, there's a couple steps when we do unit rates that we need to follow. The first step is that we need to figure out what things we're comparing. So the two things that we're comparing in this, I'm looking at miles versus hours. Once I've determined that I'm doing miles and hours, I'm going to have to write those two words in fraction form as a rate. So the first thing I need to figure out is, well, which word is going to go on top and which one goes on bottom? My key word here is going to be per. When I find the word per, I look at the word that comes directly after. This says per hour. The word that comes after per is going to be my bottom word. So I'm going to put hour on the bottom, and I'm going to put miles on the top. That tells me I'm trying to figure out miles per hour. Once I've written my words, I need to write the corresponding numbers that go with those words. When I had miles, 41 went with my miles. So I'm going to write 41 on top. And 3 went with my hours. So I'm going to write a 3 on the bottom. Now when we're doing a unit rate problem, we always set it equal to the number 1 because our unit rate is always going to have a bottom number of 1. Once I've gotten to this point, I can start solving my problem. The first thing I need to look at is my two bottom numbers. Because I have two equal numbers there, or two numbers that are filled in, I can use this to solve the rest of my problem. I need to ask myself, how do I turn a 3 into a 1 using either division or multiplication? The answer here is that I'm going to divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 gives me 1. Well, because a rate acts like a fraction, if I divide by 3 on the bottom, I need to divide by 3 on the top in order to keep everything equal. So I'm going to divide by 3 on the top of my rate, and 41 divided by 3 is 13.6 repeating. Now I can use this answer to solve my problem. My question was, how many miles per hour did he bike? My answer as a unit rate is he biked 13.6 miles per hour. Okay, I hope that this helped you figure out a little bit better how to solve a unit rate.